Okay, so let me, so that those are the selectors. Now, some basic concepts you need to be familiar with. Why do we call it cascading style sheets? Why is it called cascading? Very important to understand these concepts. It's just, why is it called cascading? I showed you why. Sorry? The last one was like the order in which the rules that you specify, the way you put them in the way you basically list them is important. The way you list them is important. And the last one always wins. So let me try to open this in Visual Code and okay. I think I explained this. For example, I may have here, just this is important to remember. I may have QU style and I may have College of Engineering style. They may have basically define the same classes and they may have some conflicting declaration. For example, in here, the QU style says, oh, I want to make the title blue. You see here, the QU style says the title is blue, while the College of Engineering style says the title color is orange red. So which one will win in this scenario? The last one that we specify. You see here, the last one that we specify. So you can see here in QU style, we created a class called title, and we redefined this class in the college style. Yes, but in the college style, we overwrote only the color. So at the end of the day, the title will have the font family, the size, and the text decoration will come from the university style, and the color will come from the college style. See what I mean? This is important because let me run this so you can hopefully recall what I mean by this. Okay, so let me open in live server. Come on. Oh, it's opening. Yep. Yes, I think we made this. Let me see. Let me see what I did. Do I have a title here? Yes, I have the title. I didn't save, maybe. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, yeah, I see. So this is the College of Engineering color. I want it to be orange red. Save. Still. Yeah, you see here, this is orange red. So and by the way, there is this inspector, right click and go to inspector, go to style. Style is here. And you can see that the title, the font family, the size, and the decoration overline is coming from QU style. But the color is coming from College of Engineering style. The QU style was overwritten, was replaced by the College of Engineering style. Okay, but if you want to look at it in a simple way, one way to look at it in a much simpler way, if I, let's say, yes, log comment, if I comment this, you can see here, this is a no styling yet, So let me just show you what cascade really means. So if I come here and say title, dot title, style, sorry, style. It's just for demo purposes. I'm putting the styles on the same page. So I'll say here dot title. I'll say the color is blue. And then somewhere down the line, I went ahead and said, redefine this class. And I said, color is orange. Orange red. So in this case, what the color of the title will be? Orange. So that's the cascade, what cascade means. The last definition will win. Whether it is embedded or external, the last one will always win. And this is important also, like if you have some large organization like QU, you can define some size that apply to all colleges. And then you can override some of the properties for certain colleges. So you can, that's how you maintain consistency. If you go to the College of Engineering, College of Arts and Sciences, College of Medicine, they have similar look and feel. What's the difference? The color scheme. So you will have QU style, plus each college has its own style. And this cascading nature or cascading property of CSS allows you to have this power. Is clear, this concept? The other concept, super important concept in CSS, is called specificity. Specificity. There are some specificity rules that you need to be familiar with. So let us see. What is this? This is H1, yes? So in here, I will say H1, the color is blue, and I will say title, the color is orange red. You see, this selector will select this element, and this selector will select this element. And they are conflicting decisions. Which one will win? Why is the class? Because has higher priority, yes. Even if it is mentioned before, even if it's mentioned before the element selector, and I'll come here and refresh this. You can see it's orange. Why? Because the class is more powerful than the class selector is more powerful than the element selector. This is called specificity. So we have the most powerful one is the ID, followed by the class, followed by the element selector. Okay? So if I have an ID, let's say I give this an ID equal main title. And I'll come here, even if I mention it, wherever I mention it, and I'll come here and say dash main dash title, and I'll make this, let's say, green. So what will be the color of my title? Green. Why green? Because the ID selector is the most specific. So the most specific rule wins, or the most specific selector wins. And you can see here, if I come here, you will see that this is the one. By the way, this inspector, the style inspector, is super important. If you are wondering, I put this style and I cannot see it visually on my content. Go to the inspector and see. Maybe there is some other rule that went ahead and overrode or changed or kind of replaced your style. So it's very clear here. This one lost the battle of precedence. This one also lost, and the other one is the winner. The ID is the winner. Okay, this is the rules of precedence, and of course, it's not recommended. But if I go here and put the style in here, of course, the inline style will win. And I'll say the color here and say purple. Of course, this one will be the winner. See, the element style will win. Not recommended to put element styles, but just be aware of this. Is precedence is inherited, not inherited? Is the cascading here, concept of cascading? The last rule wins. But there is another concept which is specificity. Which selector is more specific, or what is the order of specificity in terms of selector? ID, followed by class, followed by element. And of course, the winner of all is the inline style, although it's not inline style. Yes. There's also the concept of inheritance. I explained last time, but let me just quickly review it. If I come, you see this class here, I have a class called content. It is the class content. It is a class called content. And I'll come along in this class content, although it doesn't like it. Class content, no problem. Let me put here color is blue, violet, or brown. Let's make it brown just so it's clear. Let me save. So I am applying this style to the body of the page, to the body element. So all the child elements will inherit this style that I apply to the parent. So children, there are some exceptions, but children by default inherit the style that I apply to the parent. So these are child elements of the body element. So they will inherit this style, which is the color is brown. So if I come back here, you see everything became brown, but this one is still purple. Why? Because it has its own style. The child can override the inherited style. There are some exceptions, of course. You see inputs, they don't inherit the style of the parent. Input, you see that input? They don't inherit the style of the parent, but you can change that behavior if you wish. You can change that behavior, and I can say input color inherit. Okay, and you can see even this is now inheriting the color, but by default, inputs do not inherit styles from the parent. So that's the concept of inheritance. Concept of inheritance here. The children, they inherit the style that you apply to the parent, but of course the children can have their own styles and they can override the parents. Those are some basic concepts. Now let's go back to selectors and look at some more advanced selectors. So here are some more advanced selectors, but before I go there, let me just show you, you can have multiple classes applied to the same element, no problem. So in here, for example, the first header will be red and bold, second header will be blue and bold. So you can have multiple classes applied to the same element. Just be aware of this. There other type of selectors that you need to be aware of. They are called combined selectors. Combined selectors. Let's do some simple ones together. Let me first just remove this stuff for now. Okay, let's just go back to the. We are back to the. Why I'm still seeing some? Oh, okay, let me just remove this one. Very good. This is the out of the box, no styling. Let us now, I can do some combined selectors. I can say to the browser, whenever you see H1 or whenever you see H2, go ahead and make the color blue. So H1, H2, the color is blue. So these are combined selectors. So instead of repeating and having like this is duplicated, if they have the same style, you could, instead of doing it like this, 2 selectors and 2 styles and duplicating this, you could separate them by comma to apply this to both. Okay, that's one way. That's one combination. That's one combination you can do. The other combination is descendant selectors. So you can say, okay, let me show you an example here. Let's create a couple of paragraphs in here. Let me just create another paragraph. 30. So I create another paragraph here. And what I will do, I will go ahead and wrap them in a div. So I make them a child of a div. And then I can say, I want to select paragraphs that are descendants of a div. They are child of a div element. They are child of a div element. I want to go ahead and style them. So I'll go ahead and make background this background, for example. Okay. So take a look at this. Did I save? Sorry, can you say? Oh, border color. Oh, sorry. Yes, background. Thank you. I can just say background. No need for background color. Okay, you see, although this is a paragraph, this is a P. Like if I inspect, this is also a paragraph, but this style does not apply to it because in here, in this style, I'm saying I want the paragraphs that are descendants or that are child of it. Then apply this. And even if they are nested, let's say this one is within an let's say this one is within let's say a section, for example, a section. And let's say even if they are grandchildren, they will be selected. Even if they happen to be grandchild of a div, they will be selected. Yes. So let's try it. Here it is. Here it is. This is my section, and I have paragraph within the section. And this says, okay, select paragraphs that are descendants, whether they are child or grandchild, they will be selected. I'll go ahead. It's auto refreshes, but you can see both of them are selected. Now, if you want to only have direct children, not the grandchildren, just the direct children, you put this. So here it says paragraphs, only select paragraphs that are direct children of the div. Otherwise, don't select them. So in this scenario, let me put another paragraph in here. And lorem 10. Okay, save. And you can see this one is selected, this one is selected, but the middle one is not selected. Why? Because it's a grandchild, it's not the direct. So these are quite useful ones to be aware of. So those are called combined selectors. So those are called combined selectors. Another super useful attribute, super useful selectors are attribute selectors. Attribute selectors. So let me show you an example. Let's build small example together, super quick. So what I can do here, let's put in here, let's put in here, required, okay? And let me give it an ID. This is, for example, the ID of name. By the way, it's double quote or single quote are the same, but let's keep it consistent and use double quote. And let's give this a label. Is it label? Yes, label. And this label will be, let's say, name. Just to keep it simple, name. And then in here, I want to do what? For, yes, for equal name. And I will do the same for, let me quickly put here a break. And let me put here age, and here I want to keep it number and no value. And it's not required. Okay. The ID is age. Thank you. And let me put in here input type button or type submit, for example. All right, let's save. Let's just see what's going on here. Okay, so there is this name, age, and the submit. Let's put it in a separate line. Of course, this is not, we will learn later on how to style this nicely, but for now it's good enough. Okay, now what I can do here, this is required and this is not required. This is required, this is not required. Let's style this and say, okay, the ones that are required, I'll make the background yellow. Only the ones that are required. So what I can do, I can come along and I say input. For now, I'll say input and I'll say background. Background or background color is the same, basically yellow. Okay. And I'll go ahead, see here, all of them have background yellow. I don't want the background yellow. I only want this background yellow for the inputs that are required. So I can go ahead and say, do what is known as attribute selector. I can say here, come along and say required. No need for this. Let me just try it. I don't like it. Let me try this. Or let me. No, I'll come back to this. This is different one that I want. What I want. Yeah, this is different. This is another way of doing it, but let me. Okay. Let me do it. I'll come back to this one. Let me just. Maybe let's do another simpler way. Let's say this blue, button, I want to make it a blue background, let's say. So I want to select this input where the type is submit. So what I can do here, I can come along and say type equal submit. If it's type equal submit, I'll make it blue. Let's just give it a try and then I will explain it. Yes. Okay. So this selector is called an attribute selector. So I'm selecting an element and I'm saying only select this element where the attributes happen to have this value. These are attribute selectors. Let me see if I can find another example. What I can do, like for example, let's say for number inputs, may not make a lot of sense, but let's say for number inputs, I want to give them a green background, a green background, for example. You can see here the number inputs have green background. So these are attribute selectors. You go to the you select an element or you specify, let's say, an element, and then you want to be more specific, and you say, I want you to select the elements, or in this case, the input elements, where this is kind of a where condition, where this element happen to have a type equal to 7. Okay. Let me show you another example, another very interesting example, attribute selectors. Let me run this, and I will explain a couple of very nice tricks, practical ones where you can use attribute selectors. So you can see here those inputs, they get this yellow background, and this submit button, it gets a blue background with a white color font. And there is also some, when I hover over it, I get some effect in there. So this is how it is done. So in here, I say, go ahead, select inputs of type text. I want you to make the width 100 pixels, 150 pixels. I want to put some margin on the bottom so they are not stuck to each other. I want to have 10 pixels margin, and I want to make the background color light golden yellow color. Sorry? No, it can work for any type. It's just a kind of a practical example. So you see here, this is a practical example where you see like the inputs are nicely having a yellow background, and the button has a different blue background. For the button, I say, whenever you see an input of type button, this is the actual style I want you to go ahead and apply. Now, there is some more. So these are the attribute selectors. Let me show you another one that is quite useful. You may have seen it before. You know, sometimes in some websites, when you have some link from the website, if the link is external, you will see some little icon beside the link, just to indicate that this link is not part of our website, it's an external link. So you can achieve that super easy. So in here, what I'm saying to the browser, whenever you see a link, and that link has an attribute target equal to blank, or if the link has an href that starts with HTTP, I want you to go ahead and apply this style. And what this style says, I want you to go ahead and add an image, a background image. Don't repeat that image. Otherwise, by default, the image is repeated all along in the background of the text. I don't want you to repeat it, and I want you to position it on top right. And I want you to put some padding. I will explain these attributes later on, but for now, this is what I want you to focus on. So, and this is how I get this. You see how I get this little icon here? It's using this attribute selector. If I have another icon, another link that does not start with HTTP, let's say, there it is. So if I come here and I'll come to this one, and here I put top, and here I can put ID equal top. So this link, this is not an external link. This is a link within the same page. When I click on this link, I'll go up to the page. So I'll put the href is going to the top of the page. Especially if I have a large page, I can go up to the top. So let me save. You won't see the effect. If you want us to see the effect, let me put a paragraph in here. And lorem 1000. Let me save. And you can see if I go down all the way and then click top, I'll go up to the page, up to the top. So this is, you see this top, it does not receive that little icon beside it. Why? Because it does not meet these two conditions. one of these conditions. It does not meet one of these conditions. For the lucky link to get this little image beside it, what are the conditions? Either it should open in a separate page, which is targets equal blank, or the href starts with HTTP. Yes. I can add another one, let's say, just to show you quickly. I can come along and say, if you see a link that contains, I put star, and it contains QU. If you see a link that contains QU, I want you to make the background green, or green yellow. Save. You can see here, I go up. You can see here, because this one contains QU, immediately gets this background green. We lost this one, not sure why. Yeah. Okay, so those are attribute selectors. So you can think of attributes, not some kind of query. So you are searching through the document, the elements that meet those conditions. So you can go into more sophistication, and these are called attribute selectors. And for the attribute selectors, they can be strict equal. You can have starting with, or you can have contains, or you can have also ends with, if you wish to. So these are attribute selectors. So this hat symbol for starts with, the dollar is to ends with, and the like the star is contains. So in here, as we see in this example, this style will be applied to all links that contains QU in the link, in the href of the link. It's clear? The attribute selectors. And you can apply them, of course, these selectors, you can apply them to any elements. They are not specific to inputs or links. You can apply them to any elements. Those are just realistic examples of where you can use these attribute selectors. And other attributes that are super useful, they are called pseudo-classes. Pseudo-classes. So what we can do here, I can come along. Let me just remove this. Let me remove this one. Oh, let me come here and say, okay, whenever you see H1, hover, H over, hover, or do the same for H2. Do the same for H2, over. So when the mouse is over this element, I want you to go ahead and make the background yellow-green. Yellow-green. Let me save. We come back here. You see, whenever I hover over an H1 or H2, I get this background. Only when these styles, they apply when the user is interacting with the element. When the mouse is over it, I want you to do this effect, or I want you to change the style. So these are called pseudo-elements. These are called pseudo-elements. So for example, let's say I can come here for the input, and I can say input, I want you to, when the, let's say, when the input, when you hover over it, okay, I want you to, okay, no problem. I want you to make the border border red. Just give it a try. Border red. No, I need to put some basically one. No. So basically border, what is the inline width? Style. Okay, style is solid red. No. 1px, yes, thank you. Yeah, you can see there. Let me make it bigger so you can see the effect. Yeah, you can see here when I hover over it, I get this. That style is only applied when the state of that element it has the mouse over it. When the mouse is out of it, it's not over it, it loses that style. So that style is only applicable when that state is on. So those are called pseudo elements. Those are called pseudo elements. This is what I will leave you with. Let me just review them quickly. So there are many pseudo elements. You can say when the link is visited, is active, I can basically do some change of the style. There is another type of elements called pseudo-elements. Those are called pseudo-classes. Sorry, those are called pseudo-classes. And these are called pseudo-elements. Very, very useful. Let me show you an example of usage, realistic usage. Here it is. Pseudo-elements. So what I have here, I have some text, and I want to make this a quote. Like quote, and I can add those quote marks on both sides. So one way of doing it, I go ahead and apply this class to this paragraph. And this style, the way I define it, I'll say, I want you to do this. This is called pseudo element. So before this quote, I want you to add this opening of the quote and make it sky blue. And after the quote, I want you to add this ending of the quote and make it also sky blue. So you can see here in this example, no, not this one. There it is. Let me just run this quickly to show you. So at the end here, you see these are added on both sides. And these are added by style sheets, by CSS. So these are called pseudo elements. I can come to some kind of, let's say, some elements, and I can add some content before and some content after. It's super useful. So whenever I have a quote, I just come along to the element and say class equal quote, and these will be added. So if, for example, let's say this is another quote, somebody said this, I can come along. Here is my paragraph, and I can simply say class equal quote, save, and it will receive those opening and closing of the quotation. Okay, so those are called pseudo classes, and the way they work, you just either you apply them to an element or the page. I can always say, whenever you see a paragraph, do this to it. Sorry, whenever you see a paragraph, do this. Whenever you see a paragraph, do this. And all paragraphs will receive that. Yeah, or in this case, I create a class and I apply this content, add this content before and after any element that happens to have this class applied to it. So you can see selectors are very, very rich. So you can go beyond the simple selectors you see. You can have combination selectors, you can have this attribute selectors, and you can have these pseudo selectors and pseudo elements. So that's all the time we have for. Until next time, I will continue on this. I hope you get a bit of taste on the power of selectors, and of course, you can only master this through lab exercises. All right, thank you very much. See you next time.